Okay, so tonight, it's that time of year in the beekeeping calendar when we think about packing down our bees, and there's probably a couple of people here, and your members, wondering what's packing down mean. Well, we could just start off having a general discussion about it, but what I've done is I've sort of, what I thought would be the best way of going about it is I've broken it up into 4 different things. So when I think about packing down bees for winter, and I should add, so packing down, it goes from about now, mid to late autumn, and after we pack them down, we leave the hive alone till late winter, early spring, and then the new season starts. So packing down, I've put into 4 categories to consider. I've put food stores, so we need to look at how much honey and pollen they've got in the hive, how much space we're giving to them over winter, the hive position, where it's situated, and the health of the bees, what the larva looks like, what the capped brood looks like, etc. So before we consider that, I'd just like to say, when do we pack down? Do we pack down on Anzac Day, or do we pack down?
Depends on the season.
It does, exactly, yes.
So I actually put boxes on the other day.
Yeah, okay. So where are you, Wombat?
These were Dave Harris's lucerne. They work in the lucerne.
Right. So whereabouts is that? That's
just out of Tarwin.
Tarwin?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so down near Venus Bay. So Wombat's still putting on boxes. What are you doing, Dennis?
I've got to extract a whole heap of Banksia honey at some stage. I've got about a box and a half from every one of my hives.
Yep. So
they're all pretty full.
Yep. Yeah, so the weather's not too bad there, is it? No, so. And David? So.
Well, we've got them scattered all over the place on our various clients' properties. Down at Yannicky, there's not a lot of nectar going at the moment, and they've stopped producing, so we've started to pack down already.
Right.
But any time from now through.
Yeah. So even in South Gippsland, you'll find that there's different locations. You know, up in the Streslakes, I might pack down a little bit earlier than Wombat and Dennis, because they're down along the coast, and it's a little bit warmer. So that certainly, geographical location certainly helps with a longer season, I guess. Okay, so let's start with food stores. So from what I've learned, where possible, if we look over here, I've just brought a hive, so I'll put that down. I've got a hive box with me, so it all depends. So at the moment, for newer beekeepers, I'll just say this is the bottom board, okay? Down the bottom we call the bottom board.
Should we stick it up on the table?
Yeah, put it up on the table. So just for very new beekeepers, the components of a hive is the bottom board, brood box, and then we've got a queen excluder here, which is a metal grate which stops the queen coming up to the next box. And because I've got the queen excluder there, we call this the honey super, because only honey, the queen can't get in here to lay eggs. The only thing will go in here is honey, so we call it the honey super. So I don't, personally I run 2 brood boxes so that queen excluder wouldn't be there, it would be up here. Okay, and then anything else above is honey. So as in regards to how much honey we should leave the bees over winter to survive from now until late August, early September, in a double box, in a single brood box, let's just say we take this honey super off and we just leave that box, put the lid down there and leave that box on a single box, how much honey should we leave?
Well, if they're pretty well packed up in the bottom box, that's all you need to leave.
Right.
If they've got less boxes to keep warm, and if they've got that pretty packed tight,
Right,
it'll stay, it'll keep them going until.
right, yeah. Even, oh, okay, so if we're talking, so we're just talking about bands of honey across the top of the frames, are we, generally?
Generally, but they start shutting down sort of a bit like shortly
Right,
anyway, and they'll fill up with honey rather than empty, and they
okay,
hives
right,
go well. It'll,
right, yeah.
the big blokes all cut down to one box.
Right, okay. Right, yeah, okay, so, but generally, is that generally, say 4 frames of honey to, would there be, say, 4 frames of honey in that box, or?
Could be.
Yeah, well that's what's, from what I've been told, it's for every frame of brood, you have a frame of honey, does that?
Yeah.
Works that pretty right.
Yeah,
I do some bees for other people, and I've got a few half boxes. I usually leave half a box of honey on them to keep them,
oh, you mean the half box at the top?
on here.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
okay.
an ideal box.
Yeah, not here. Yeah.
Right, so for newer people, you can get a box half this height, which is called an ideal box. So, yeah, you can have a full box up the top there as well. Yeah, so generally I run both. I run 2 boxes. All my hives are 2 boxes, and ideally I would have a full box of honey up the top. For over the season, but I mean it doesn't always work out that way. So what if you don't have enough honey in your box? What if you feel you don't have enough? So we can feed sugar syrup. We can either feed 1-to-1 sugar syrup or 2-to-1, or we can give them dry sugar, depending on what part of the season it is. So up to what?
Well, if I'm going to Western Australia, I just open up the lid, I throw a cup full of sugar on,
Yeah,
leave them,
yeah,
and they'll survive. If they're any good, they'll survive.
right, okay,
Yeah.
right, okay,
Well, I find it's cheaper in the long run just to take some frames out of another box,
Yeah,
while there's no disease, and move them across.
that's what I
I
do
just
as
run
well.
2 boxes, and I
Mm.
make sure there's at least 6 frames fully covered.
Right,
You could actually spin them, but you've got to think of what their food supply is, and I go away for the winter, and I'm not worrying about my bees when I'm catching fish, so I like to make sure there's plenty of honey there.
yeah, yeah. So I have a freezer too, and I have spare frames, so if I don't feel like the bees have enough honey in a particular hive, I can thaw out some frames and put them in the hive as well. Okay.
Just sort of get, if you had bees that you did need with a strong hive, and to winter them down, would you unite them with another hive? Or?
Well, if you've got the hives to do that, it's probably not a bad idea. But you can also cheat a bit by picking a frame out of another hive of brood and put it in the other hive, and that'll give them a boost.
Okay.
Right, yep.
We do that.
We've got a question.
Down the back.
Yeah, what's the verdict on whether you should feed sugar syrup or dry sugar? I know definitely there's not enough stored in my one hive. It's got no super, I just got a nuke about 2 months ago, so I've only got 8 frames and they definitely haven't got enough. They've got about 3 frames of brood and there's a little bit of honey around the edges, but there's 2 frames at both edges that are not full.
Right. Well, personally, the way I understand it, while it's still warm, I would feed 1-to-1 sugar syrup, okay? But when it starts to go cold, I guess you could feed 2-to-1, so 2 sugar to 1 water. And then in the wintertime, like Wombat said here, you can just, if you've got your hive top mat, you can just put some raw sugar, not white sugar, up the top, sit it up there, and if they need that, then they will go eat that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Can you use raw sugar? I mean, that's what I had in the house the other day, so I've mixed up a couple of things.
The brown sugar, you mean? Dennis, raw brown sugar?
They don't recommend it.
Yeah, it's interesting you asked because I was looking on the internet today and I actually, I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but there was a beekeeper in New South Wales, seemed to be a commercial guy, was saying that they were using more brown sugar over white sugar, but it's always been suggested to me not to use brown sugar because it can cause a type of dysentery, I think, in the bees or give them the runs. Is that right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
there's a definite attitude that you don't feed them
Yeah.
brown sugar.
So I'd recommend putting white sugar on the hive mat over winter. Yeah.
So yeah, just keep feeding a bit of syrup right now until it cools down.
Yeah, it hasn't cooled down too much. Could you still go with 1-to-1, Ron? Sugar syrup? Yeah. Okay, still keep on going with 1-to-1 for a while. Yeah, it's still warm enough. Yeah. I think the thing is when it gets cold in winter, if you feed them 1-to-1, from what I've been told, that it will stimulate. They'll think that there's a nectar flow or something, so they'll go out looking for flowers when there aren't any around. So that's why you switch to 2-to-1 or raw sugar.
That's right.
The queen will keep laying too.
Yeah, well that's right. The queen will keep laying. Yeah.
When you take the super off and it's full of bees, is there a chance of overcrowding or anything like that?
It is marvellous where they sneak
Can
in.
fit.
You give them nowhere else to go, they will always go into the
Come
box.
together, will it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've always put mine down to one, well, always. I've only been there for 4 years. The last year I put them down to one. It was amazing taking 3 boxes down to one. You think these are never going to fit, but they do.
They always do.
It was unbelievable. A massive amount of bees all went into one box.
Yeah. I was packing down a couple today, and I must admit it's very satisfying to pack them down and to see them all between the frames. They're all nice and snug. There's lots of bees in there. That's what you want.
And they stay warmer, don't they?
That's right. They do. Yeah. Okay. Any more honey stores? People happy with that? Yeah.
You mentioned 2 boxes and you have a super on top. Do you remove the queen excluder?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I was going. Yeah, I always remove them. You never leave a queen excluder between the 2 boxes in winter because the queen's down the bottom, and as it gets colder, the cluster of bees is going to move up the box, and so if they move up above the queen excluder, the queen will be down the bottom feeling cold, and the cluster will be up higher, so there's a risk that the queen may perish. So always if you have a queen excluder between your 2 boxes, always take it out at the winter time and either go down to the single box or let her move around the 2 boxes with the cluster. Yeah?
2 years ago, when I first started, I did some with 2 boxes, a brood of super, I packed it down, and I had a number of ideal frames that were full of honey. So a couple of the hives I did with the brood plus the ideal, and they seemed to survive a lot better through the winter. I was wondering if perhaps it was the less space that they had overall, that even though it was a little bit less honey, the less space was a better benefit.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough just to run a full deep and then an ideal box with honey. That's fine to do it that way. Yeah, and probably the less space too helps to keep them warm. Yeah,
especially because we had extreme up in the stress lakes, and we had a week of extreme frosts.
Yeah.
This winter, and the ones we, as I said, we just got brewed in an ideal pull through a lot better.
Yeah. David?
When you're packing down, would you use a bee
Clearable.
not excluder, a bee
Skateboard. Not general.
You just shake them in or blow them in or what?
I basically just shake and bang a bit. Yeah, I don't. To be honest, I rarely use a brush, and I just shake basically. Yeah. Whereas other people might use a brush and something. Yeah. Just shake, yeah.
You said at that time of the year you don't use it as skateboard.
No, generally, personally I don't. I mean, you can use the skateboards for honey supers when you want them to move to go out with the honey super, but not for packing down. I don't use it as a skateboard. No. Yeah. But I mean, if it works for you, then you can do it that way. I mean, there's no reason why you can't do that. But yeah, but it's not generally what people do. Yeah.
Might be more gentle on the bees. I suppose it takes more time though if you've got a lot
Yeah.
of hives.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Was there somebody else up with their hand or something? Yeah.
When you're using the brush, you should really have a bucket of water.
That's
Dip
right,
in,
yeah.
and it works a lot better. They don't attack the brush like they do otherwise.
So you dip the brush in the bucket of water and give it a flick off, and then yeah,
Keeps it clean from the honey so they don't stick to it.
absolutely, yes, yeah.
It also helps.
It's probably good for biosecurity too, sort of rinsing all that honey off before you go to the next hive. Okay, pollen stores. Should we worry about pollen stores?
Not where I am.
No.
How is it going down to the banks here?
Yeah, well that's right. And I generally, if you stand and observe your hive, you'll know if they're bringing in pollen or not, and you'll possibly see how many different sources of pollen. Sometimes you can see them bringing in 2 or 3 different colours of pollen. So my way of thinking, whether it's right or wrong, is if they're bringing in a few different types, hopefully they're getting the right protein, the right pollen with the right protein coming in. So yeah, you can observe at the entrance, and it's nice to see a bit of pollen in there, but generally over where I am, even over winter, you'll see them continually bringing in pollen from something. So do we need to use pollen supplements? No? No? Anybody use pollen supplements here? No? No, I don't either, but just on social media you see a few people plugging it. Yeah. So I don't, in my opinion, you don't need to think about pollen supplements. Okay, space. Okay, well, we've talked about space, I guess, in a way. So you pack down to 1 box, do you, generally? Or?
I don't generally pack down at all.
You don't? Oh, okay.
No, for a start,
Yeah.
I've got a 100-foot sand dune on the west side.
Right, yeah.
And then I've got about a 20-foot tea tree down each other side.
So you're sheltered, yeah.
Sheltered, and it's probably 5 or 10 degrees warmer where they are than up on the...
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So these guys are in a good location, so they don't, yeah. So does that mean you're still running what?
Sometimes 4 boxes.
Still 4 boxes over, yeah. Well, there you go. So
Next week down there. When
Yeah.
you start extracting.
yeah. Well, that's great. I might move down there next. Yeah. So a double's better if you weren't where you were. Is it true that running a double box is better in cooler climates because it's warmer? Do you think, or do you think that doesn't make any difference? Or
Depends how many bees are in the box.
sorry?
Depends how many bees are in. If there's a
Well,
big
that's
strong
right.
colony, they're
Yeah.
going to keep warm.
Yeah.
Actually, what I've found a couple of times, if we've got swarms in the spring and they haven't expanded enough, I'll actually cut up some of the polystyrene foam boxes and take some of the outside frames off and put them in place of them. A lot of people say put them down to a ute to keep them warm during the winter, but I find the polystyrene works just the same.
Yeah.
And then early spring, whip them out, put the frames back in, and away they go.
Right. Some people put newspaper down the sides, do they as well? I think, yeah.
For insulation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I generally run 2 boxes over winter, but as David said, you may think that's what I want to do, but sometimes, like David said, the bee numbers just, you can't do that. So some boxes you might have to take down to 1 box. So it does depend on how many bees are in the box. But what I like to see is when I pack down, like I said before, is every gap between the frame is nice and full with bees. Is that Yeah, is that the way you feel? Yeah, well, you don't because you don't pack down, yeah, but yeah.
So the
I've
lady,
had a 5-frame box survive winter.
Sorry?
I've had a 5-frame box survive winter.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't do that up in the Spreslekis, but yeah.
the lady with the nuke, what should she be looking?
Sorry, who's
The lady
this?
with the nuke, had the nuke, what the nuke?
Down the back.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some nukes. I've got still some bees and some nukes, and I'm thinking of overwinter. I've never overwintered nukes before, so
I mean, her hive, should she be looking at maybe reducing the room?
Could remind me, it's a 5-frame nuke, wasn't it? Or?
He's got a nuke not that long ago, I think.
Right.
Hadn't had
So you've got a 5-frame nuke down. Yeah.
I've got a 5-frame nuke, and yes, but they're now in an 8-frame box, and I think I've got 2 completely unused frames on one side and pretty much 2 on the other. So while I'm listening to you, I'm going, maybe I'll slip out the outside too and put some foam or some paper in.
Well, maybe with that type of gap, I'd put probably foam rather than paper, but yeah.
Give them plenty of snuggly.
Yeah. Maybe speak to David. David might be. I haven't done that before, but David on the end.
It's usually because when you pick up a swarm, the queen's a bit old and she hasn't developed enough by the autumn. So I say, all right, you can stay there and then requeen first thing in the spring, and then away they go. And they build up.
Or you could pack back down to a 5-frame nuke. Could she? I guess she's not. There's no reason you wouldn't.
I just fill them up.
Just fill it up with foam. Yeah. Okay, well that might be the option to pack the 2 sides
And
with.
they want their foam won't affect them. They won't, pick up any yucky chemicals off the foam.
I don't think so. I think.
Just cut them nice and neat and drop them in place of the frame.
Yeah, I think if it's a choice of them surviving the winter or the foam, I think I would give them.
The bees I've got from a split from a bloke who had bees on our place, and then he took them off because his sort of bee farms came on. But he had a foam mat over the top of them last winter, but I think I might put the foam mat back on, but it sounds like I would give the foam down the stairs.
Yeah, that might be the way to go, I think. Yeah, as long as they stay with... The thing with not enough bees in a box and too much empty space is that they're using a lot of energy to try and keep that empty space warm, and then they go through their honey stores, and then they'll eventually starve. Yeah. So... Yeah. So when as you said, you've got some frames in there that haven't been drawn out, so we don't want to leave undrawn out frames in there during winter. You want them fully drawn out.
Enough bees at the moment to cuddle up nice and close in the central part of the frame.
Oh, well, that's good.
6 or more, just over 6 frames worth of full of bees, and then I noticed the outer 2 frames that really got very few bees on them at the moment.
Right.
They're doing a little bit of wax on them, but not too much, so they're still a long way from filling.
Okay. Well, I think that seems like the way to go. Yeah.
Right, thank you.
David, yeah. Sorry.
What's your protocol for if you're packing down from a double box to a single? What's your protocol for the box you take off, which may have some nectar, it may have some honey in it? What do you do with it? What's your ideal protocol there?
And other hives.
If I'm taking a box off and I'll put full frames of capped honey I'll put as much capped honey as I can into the box as is necessary over uncapped honey, and then anything that's left you can put in a freezer for at least. I mean, if you've got a big enough freezer, you can leave it in a freezer over winter, or if you can't have them in the freezer all the time, then put them in the freezer for 2 days or a few days to kill any wax moth eggs or small hive beetle, I think too. Eggs, I think it'll kill. Yeah, so leave them in the freezer for a couple of days to knock off any wax moth in particular, and then and then take them out, let them come back to room temperature, and then store them. You can put them in a plastic container, or you can put them back in a hive box and wrap them up in clear plastic.
And you leave the honey there? So you don't
Capped honey will be alright. I had some stickies from that I overwintered, and when I took them out, unwrapped them and put them back on the hive, I smelt them, and it smelled, there's a little bit of ethanol I could smell, sort of, because they fermented a little bit, but there wasn't a lot there, so I put them on and they were fine. Yeah. What's your, you don't know, you don't pack down, so you would...
I take them off and
yeah.
spin the honey out,
Yep.
put them back on the hives, let them lick
Yep.
them out, and then I freeze them,
Yep.
and then put them in the storeroom.
Yeah. Wrap them up or not?
No. It's an ant-proof room.
Okay. And radio. Okay. So you won't get wax moth or anything like that? No? Okay. And I know Peter Gold's, I think, where's Pete? Oh, there you are, standing up with that. Somebody said that with your frames over winter you keep a light on them. Is that right? And the fan going?
Yeah, just blow air, have them in a column of boxes and blow air over them. Where the air comes in, it's lit, and I have a yellow light above them, so I have no issues with wax moth.
Right.
You know, one thing they say is you put a box down and you put the other box down,
Yes.
you put another box,
Yes.
and stagger them so that they get light into them.
Yeah.
And then the wax moth will leave them alone,
Radio.
supposedly.
Yeah, well, I have heard that as well. Yeah. Yeah, so don't stack all your boxes up in that formation there. Yeah. Just one like that, and yeah. And that'll keep them open, and the wax moth won't have as many dark places to hide.
Hey, what if you've got a lot of frames that are uncapped?
It can be a dilemma sometimes. Like I bought 2 chest freezers a couple of seasons ago, fairly big, and I thought, yeah, that'll do it. And I filled them up. I think you get. I think probably part of it's getting smarter about putting frames on hives and when, and so you don't get left with sort of half-filled frames and things like that. But I don't know. What do you do with a lot of uncapped frames?
You can usually mix them around through the other hives because you only have 6 frames in 2 boxes, so you can move half frames or uncapped frames or whatever around. You can usually bury them in amongst them, and they're quite happy. I do anyway.
Yeah. I've heard, another experienced beekeeper said to me that if you've got uncapped frames and if you've got some fully capped frames and uncapped frames, or put the fully capped frames on the outside, so you've got insulation, and then the uncapped frames on the inside. So they'll use that first, and also the outer fully capped frames will provide some insulation to the hive as well. And how late can we put new frames in to draw out? Well, I guess it depends where you are. Again, the guys down along the coast, they can probably put new frames in and they'll get drawn out later than what I can do up in the Strez Lakes. So it all depends again on whether, how warm it is and whether there's a nectar flow. Okay, hive position. So you've said you're down amongst the sand dunes and you've got good shelter, so that's you're right. So we live in a cool to moderate climate, so we need to make sure that the hives, we want the bees to stay as warm as possible over winter, so we don't want to have them down in a shady gully or under non-deciduous trees that will block out the sun. Ideally we want them in northeasterly aspect. We want the hive entrance to be facing the sun, and so we want to get as much winter sun on the hive as possible to get as much warmth on that hive over winter, because the colder the bees are, the more energy they're going to be shaking a lot more, and they're going to be using a lot more energy and going through their honey stores. So we want the hives to be in a sunny, to get the maximum amount of winter sun.
Question.
But
Yep.
with that on location, I've got 3 hives that have been in Balara for 20 odd years, and I'll take them over now. But they're undercover. So what's the general thoughts on undercover? There, it's quite a large, it's probably 6 metres long, this area that's roofed. Sealed at the south and north, it'll be the east and west end, so it's facing north.
Mm.
The south side is about 3/4 enclosed as far as a wall. And those hives, because they're facing north, when the sun's low during the winter, they're getting sun coming through on the hives most of the day. Is that an advantage to the hives being out in the open?
Perfect, they're out of the wind and they're getting sun.
Yeah. I mean, if it's working for you, then that, if the bee, you've got strong cold, if they're getting through okay, then that, to me, that seems fine.
I'm just wondering if I should replicate that at home at my place, but is it a waste of resources doing that? Do the bees, does it help them that much that it's worthwhile or not?
Oh,
I'd say it would. I'd say it would. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I just find try to find the best location out in the open. Yeah, I mean that's what most people will do as well. But I mean, if you can do that, then that would be good. Yeah.
We saw a nice speech late last year about Romania or whatever. What would be wrong with sticking them inside the shed and just making a little letterbox entrance so they can access the outside from there?
Of course they do.
Yeah, you could do that as well. I mean, I assume that they've got the hive entrances are pointing towards, still getting the maximum amount of sun on the entrance. So, yeah.
All your problems will be over, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
One or 2 hives.
Yeah, I guess they have more extreme winters than us as well. So they've got snow and things like that.
Why
So.
not do it here is what I'm saying.
Well, you can do it. Well, you can. I mean, we've got Amanda is doing something like that. Yeah, down at Venus Bay. Yeah. Have you overwintered like that yet, Amanda? Yeah, and they've come out. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the Slovenian style. Yeah.
Are you required to reduce the entrance to the hive?
Yeah. Yep. So that hive's got a fixed. That entrance is fixed, so I don't have to worry. So that's probably about the ideal.
This is quite a while, and we noticed a lot of action outside the hives. So we weren't sure if that's robbing. Movement out the front.
Right. Do you have vents on your hive or anything like that? Generally with robbing as well, you'll see bees sort of around the vents, maybe around the gaps between the lid and the box, and trying to get into the hive from the back and from the front. And are you seeing that as well? Or?
Not really on the vents, just out the front. There seems to be that circling out the front.
You have wasps? A problem with wasps?
Yeah, we've seen a few wasps.
Yeah, well, it could be that, or I think in the afternoon too, there might. If you look at your hives a few times during the day, you'll see sometimes they're quiet, and then you'll come out and there'll be a lot of activity for a while, and then they'll settle down. I think sometimes there's young bees doing orientation flights out the front, and
your bees will get nasty if there's wasps around, because they're always on defensive.
But I think I've noticed that it's normally during the afternoons that you see that action at the front of the hive.
In the afternoon? Yeah, well sometimes some with my hives as well. Like I said, it could be orientation. Are they just all sort of flying out the...
Yeah, circling around the front.
Yeah, it's hard to see without knowing, but it could just be normal activity. It could be... Yeah.
It might have been robbing.
Well, to reduce that chance, reduce your entrance to about what that one is there. So, over winter you want to reduce it down to what that one is there.
Ours is about double that.
Right, well, halve it then. Yeah. So you reduce your entrance, as we've been saying, in autumn, because you get other bees from other hives trying to rob other hives, and you also get wasps trying to rob the hive as well. So by reducing the entrance, you're going to reduce the area that the bees have to defend. So try that and see how it goes. Yeah. Yep.
Peter, do they drive the drones out and do something this time of year when they're coming down?
Yeah.
More
Yeah.
sort of biting out the front and whatever?
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. Sort of at the drone population in spring, sort of early spring, goes up. I think probably 20 to 30%. I think something like that in the hive, because obviously that's the breeding season. That's swarming and queens are mating and things. So the population of the drones goes up, and then they don't. A lot of people say drones don't do much really. They mate with the queen, but in winter they're of no use to the girls really.
I saw them dragging them out the other day.
Yeah, that's
literally
right.
dragging them out of the hive and
Yeah.
kicking them out.
Yeah, and you'll see them like as Wombat said, just dragging them out of the hive. So they go down to about 10% or something like that over winter. They're not necessary. They're using excess resources in the hive, so they kick them out. Sorry?
That's enough talk like that.
Right.
I'm a sensitive sort of person. Well, it's not unsimilar to some of us blokes sometimes.
That's what he means.
Yeah. But we'll move on now anyway. So, so good location for your hive to maximise the amount of sun on your hive helps. Okay, so we get cold, wet winters here, so we also need to tilt our hive forward like David's doing. You just want to tilt the back up a bit so that if
an inch timber under it.
a bit of inch timber under the back, so sometimes if you get a lot of torrential rain, a bit of moisture will get in the hive, so you want that water to run out the front of the door, so just tilt up the back. Hive mats too. Hive mats help to keep the hive warm, so people are all familiar with the vinyl that we use for hive mats. Yep. So just cut the hive mat a bit shorter than the length of your hive. I don't think I've got one on there.
Should be 3/8 of an inch short, smaller than the top of the hive.
Little box.
Right. Yep.
So they've got room to go out, up and around it.
Yep. So just slightly shorter.
Yeah.
And we said, take the queen excluder off. Yep. So, well, you don't. Okay. Yeah, for people who are packing their hives down, I should have got some different guys there. Okay, so when do you do your disease? Oh, I guess you're looking at your hives all the time, so you keep. We talk about
Look,
doing
if they're
a
any good,
disease.
they'll survive winter.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Tough one.
But
tough ones. Otherwise, that gives me a box to use next year.
Well, that's right.
Look, I collected 30 odd swarms this year.
Well, that's right. Yeah, your phone's around the end of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but classically speaking, we're taught in spring and in autumn that we do a disease, make sure that we do a good disease check of our hives. When they come out of winter, our first hive check in spring, we inspect the brood, and also when we pack them down, we inspect for disease in autumn. What do you do, David? You just do the...
Just whenever you get a chance. I must confess I don't do them as regular as I could, but I'm pretty thorough when I do. And the more often you check them, if you happen to have wax moth, well, you can be on top of it a lot earlier.
Yeah.
And that's about like anything.
I mean, when as you grow in experience as a beekeeper, I mean, every time you open the hive, when you're looking at frames, you get so experienced that you can pick things up pretty quickly anyway. But it's good to have that first inspection coming into spring and that last pack down in autumn, just to make the point of going through your brood frames and just having a good look to make sure that you don't have any disease. So what are we looking for? I mean, chalk brood. Most people familiar with chalk brood, other than our very normal little chalky mummies in the cells, really hard white chalky mummies. You might see that. It's fairly common. You might see them draining it out the front entrance of your hive and depositing it out the front. It just looks like little white greyish pieces of chalk.
It's a virus that sits in the comb, isn't it?
Chalk brood's a fungus. Yeah, it's a fungus that the larvae are fed, and it goes into their gut, and then it just sort of grows and takes over the larvae, and they die. When the larvae are capped off at the capped stage of their breeding cycle, they just form into little chalky mummies. So that's one thing to look out for.
How do you fix it?
Chalk brood. That's a good question, because I was wondering how you would do it at your last pack down in winter, but I mean in spring or summer you could requeen. If it's bad enough, you would requeen and get a better queen with better hygienic behaviour.
Change the frames.
So maybe take out any really bad frames. Take out, if you've got some really bad frames of chalk brood, I guess the very least you could do is take out, as Wombat said, take out those dud frames, and then if you've got some other hives, hopefully you can grab some brood from them and put them in. At least, hopefully you might keep it at bay. So there's wax moth is another thing. If you see wax moth, sometimes you could see webs over your frames and things like that. The thing with wax moth, with packing down your hive, you want to have as less space as possible for things like wax moth and hive beetle to take over. So that's why we pack them down snugly, so there's the maximum amount of bees in the smallest space. Yeah.
You mostly only get wax moth with your hives weak.
Yes, or weak or weak or too much space, I guess. Yeah. And can you guys add anything else as far as disease inspections or how to?
No. When you go through your hives, if you haven't got a queen, you can hear the different buzz in the hive when they haven't got a queen.
Yes, yeah.
You've got to fix that somehow.
Right, yeah.
And I'll just go along and pick a frame of young
day-old eggs
and put them in the hive there, and they'll requeen.
This is any time of year really. Yeah. So that's a thing, I guess, that comes with experience, doesn't it? I mean, just as you open your hive more and more, you just become familiar with the sound of the hive, and you know when they're happy and calm, and you know when they're really pissed off.
Sicilian ones are never happy.
Sorry?
The Sicilian ones are
No,
never
I don't. The dark ones, no. What do you have Italians or?
Yeah, I've got a few of them.
Mainly Italians, yeah.
And some are lezers.
Yes. Yeah. So you don't.
They work well.
They work well.
Yeah. You're just going to be prepared to deal with them.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, some people say the nippier bees are better.
They work harder.
Yes, they do. Yeah. And the Italians are lazy, and the Ligurians are even lazier. Yeah.
So you haven't bothered requeening the nasty
Yeah,
ones?
I get a few queens in for genetics, and that's about it.
Yeah.
And there was one hive last year that had 16 queen cells, so I split that into 3 hives. Worked really well, but it's a jittery hive. As soon as you pull a frame out, they just jitter around on the frames.
Yeah.
But they work well.
Yeah. I find that with some hives, you pull out a frame, and I call them drippy bees. They're sort of all hanging off the frames, and the other ones, like you said, the jittery bees that are. And then you pull out another one, and they're just like, are you alive? They're just so calm So yeah.
Also depends on the day too.
It depends on the day, yeah.
If it's an easterly wind, forget about it.
That's right, yeah.
Perfectly quiet hive today and get a windy day or overcast and they can get pictures.
Or a storm's coming.
Yeah. And I find sometimes packing down in autumn, I'll open a hive and they'll be really bitey or nasty, and I think, oh, I'll requeen you in spring, and then I'll open them up in spring and they're happy. So, so it's just different times of the year, really. Yeah. So I was going to go through a whole lot of different diseases and whatever, but unless we have overheads and things, I mean, there's quite a few diseases, but I think the best advice is you've got to learn what's normal, and then when you see something that's abnormal, it'll stand out to you. So your larvae, you want, if you can see what a larva looks like, you want those larvae to be nice and pearly white and glistening. You don't want them to be, if they've got yellow discoloration or anything like that, then you might, or they're brown or gooey, then you might have something like European foul brood or American foul brood. If there are any gooey ones, you can get a matchstick and do what we call the roping test. And if that larva really strings out and doesn't break, I think it's about 2.5 times, something like that. If you can pull that larva out and it really stretches out of the cell, then you might have a disease called a European foul brood or American foul brood. So that's something to look out for. You don't want those caps when the bees cap the larva at the pupal stage. You want those caps to be a little dome. You don't want them to be sunken. You don't want to have a salt and pepper appearance, so you don't want light caps and dark caps. If you see any of those dome-shaped caps with little holes picked in them, the bees are picking at the cap to remove the diseased pupa. So that's another thing to look out for. But basically you need to get a good grasp of what's normal, and then the abnormal will hopefully jump out at you. Hopefully. So how can we monitor our hives over winter? We pack them down for the winter.
Feel how heavy they are.
Yeah, how do you test the weight, David? Okay, so periodically over the winter you can just go, when you packed it down, you lift it up the back like David just did, and it should be really heavy. And then, not every day, but maybe 2 or 3 weeks down the track, or a month down the track, you'll go past it again and you'll...
Once over winter.
Sorry?
Once over winter.
Once over, oh, okay, once over.
If you've got 6 in there to start with, 6 frames,
yeah.
Once over the winter's fine.
Oh, I'm probably OCD, and I'm probably a little bit more obsessive about this. Yeah, but whenever you're passing, you can lift, if you want to, you can lift the hive and see how it's going. And over time, with experience, you'll get a good appreciation as to how fast they're going through their honey stores. And honey stores are getting into late winter and early spring. It's really critical that you keep an eye on your hives to make sure that they don't starve. So, yeah.
Peter, I've found that the less you can interfere with your bees during the winter time,
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
Because you notice if you haven't inspected your bees for a few weeks, that they seal off the gaps.
They do, yeah.
So if you're in there every week during winter and you're breaking those seals, they're having to spend more energy to seal them back up again. So you're actually to the detriment of the bees.
Oh, absolutely.
The less times you inspect during the winter time is actually, I feel, better for your bees.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting opening the lid or anything like that. Yeah, once you pack them down for winter, just leave them until late August, early September. Yeah, because as Leanne was saying, they seal all those cracks and whatever with propolis, and that stops all the drafts, etc. getting in.
Just on that one, I noticed this lid here hasn't got any air vents in that lid. I've got a lid that's got 4 air vents. Will I close them off at factory?
You know, Personally, I don't know the question, the answer to the question as to whether to have vents or not, because I have both, and I've got vents that are fully blocked up with propolis. So you have vents, and they block them all up. Okay, so let's ask what do you, vents or no vents?
Well, I have vents, but if they want to block them up, they'll block them up.
Yeah.
And if they want to open them up, they'll open them up.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do mainly have vents, but I have a few hives that don't. Yeah.
A lot of people are doing a fair few hives without any vents nowadays.
Yeah.
It's not unusual.
Yeah. What does Ron do?
I've got vents and no vents.
Yeah.
I don't put beds in these days.
Yeah. Do you think with that type of hive, I mean, I bought a couple of these that's got just the fixed entrance at the front with no vents. Do you think in the summer heat that's worse for the bees? Or?
Well, I think vents help in the summer.
Yeah.
Let a bit of the hot air out.
Yeah. So have vents, and if they want to close the shutters and let them, when they want to open them again, they will. Yeah.
I read some article that you didn't need vents in winter, so I made tops with no vents for a winter. And then someone said to me, "Oh, you've got to have vents because it lets some moisture out." So the next winter I had tops with vents.
Well, it didn't make any difference.
Yeah, well, I've had vented hives, and I've had vented and non-vented hives that had moisture in them. So the times I don't,
There's no difference.
While you're talking about no moisture, we've got some boxes with bottom boards with holes in them. And over winter I found that the ones, there's no noticeable difference in the number of bees in the ones with vents, with open bottom boards or not. But the ones with the aerated bottom boards generally have less moisture
I agree.
in the outer hives. So they breathe better.
Yeah.
But there's a percentage of moisture in a lot of hives, even just normally. I mean, some hives don't have any moisture, and then some have a lot of moisture.
Yeah.
And you'd have to ask the bees why they've done that.
Yeah.
Could it maybe be because they're just not working as hard to decrease the,
They might run a bit cooler.
in there?
Yep. Sorry, what was that again?
Ventilated bases over winter, ventilated bases over summer.
No noticeable difference.
Most of my hives have the blue bees bottom boards on them. If you're familiar with those, maybe one of us will bring one in. But it's got long slits down the bottom, sort of curved bottom slats. So the bees. The theory is that the bees, if there's a small hive beetle, the bees will harass them, and the hive beetles will slip out the bottom, but they can't get back in. But I run those over winter, and they're fine. Yeah, I can't see any difference between non-vented and vented, really. I haven't, with my eyes anyway.
The main difference is the solid boards need a bit of cleaning.
Yes,
Whereas the these paper blueberries ones, as well we have, they don't need cleaning.
Yeah, they come out really clean at the end of winter, whereas they've said, you can sort of scrape great lumps of rubbish off the solid bottom boards. Yeah.
Has any research ever been done? I've seen in Europe how they put like a nappy bag over the hives, and obviously keeping them warm through the winter. Has anyone done any research to see if that makes any difference at all?
Wrapping the hive?
Yeah, wrapping the hive over winter. Has anyone ever tested that?
Well, I know in the US, like in Vermont and places like that, where they get 4 or 5 feet of snow. I mean, they wrap the hives up.
I was wrapping, putting like a camping fridge, and you've got a cover that just slide over the top. Has anyone ever thought of testing to see if it made any difference?
No, I mean, I don't think so. But I know people have talked about putting hay bales around the hives, and some people put a foam, just a foam.
All the other week with putting that pillow on top.
Yeah, in the Warrior hive. I'm not I haven't done any warray hives, but I'm not converted as far as the pillows. Sorry, Colin, but that's just my. I just.
No, and I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
We have Langstrip and warray side by side, and to be honest, I haven't noticed that the pillows make all that much difference, other than there's obviously a difference in ventilation, and sometimes if there's a lot of moisture in the hive, the pillow will get wet, but then we'll pick it up and swap it for another one.
Yeah. I wonder if whether just a nice foam block in there would. I don't know. Yeah.
In theory, it keeps the humidity even as well as the temperature. Does it make a difference?
Yeah.
I suppose most people have got the bottom entrance on the hives, but I've heard from what I've been reading that if you cover you've got to keep the entrance open during the winter. And in America they get snow sometimes, a foot and a half deep around a double-sized box. The snow will be halfway up the second box, but they've got top entrances.
Yeah.
They have top entrances over there.
Yeah, they do.
Which allows the humidity to come out through the top, and it allows the bees to get in and out of good weather. So as long as you don't cover your entrance for the bees, you've probably got bottom entrances, then I think you'll be all right if you cover them.
I think, our winters get cold and wet here, but I don't know. I mean, some people do put foam, might cut a bit of foam the same size of the lid and just put that on top of the hive. It might help. Lots of people do different things. It's probably not going to harm them, as long as the bees can get in and out. Yeah. What was it? Sorry, Rob? Yeah. I don't. There's probably overkill and Sam. Well, that's right. Yeah. Well, that does make sense. Yeah. If you mollycoddle them too much, you might be breeding soft bees. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah.
With the different methods, do we still lose a few hives?
I think, you can be How do your wombat? You don't lose any hives over winter?
Oh, you lose the odd one here and there, but that just gives you boxes to use next year.
Yeah, that's right. Dennis,
You don't lose many over winter, but I had two swarm out this year for some reason or other, and it was really good conditions. You wouldn't want, whether it was ants annoying them or something.
And you go.
I lost my first two hives this year, and I put it down to wasps. Because one area particularly, that when I was contracting there was wasps everywhere. And there were two hives, and one was a stronger hive when I left them there last year, and the weaker one was gone when I went back after winter. So I'd say the wasps got in and did their job. And I had another one just recently. I suspect it was wasp too, because there's a lot of wasps.
Yeah, wasps have just come out thick and fast.
Yeah,
I took out 17 nests in the last week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, we've got a few around up where I am, but I don't think as bad as what you're having down there.
But if you don't do anything this year, there'll be 100 next year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So I think we've had probably better than like North America or Europe as far. I think because from what I see over there on social media, and that they tend to lose a few with the snow and things like that. Yeah.
Ants, what does everybody do if you are feeding supplementary feeding? What do you do about controlling ants? I mean, I'm a few tiny ants on the outside of the box, but no doubt they're having a look for what they can smell inside.
Yeah, I get the odd hives and I'll lift the tin off the lid or whatever, and there'll be all ants in there. I don't get too stressed about it. I just give them all a good bang off and wipe them away. Ants,
Set them up on a rubber tie.
Yeah, rubber tie, do you think
They
that?
don't like rubber.
Oh, they don't like rubber, ants don't like...
Your ants don't like walking on rubber.
Chuck an old car tyre down and put your head on top.
Oh, right. Did you hear that? David was just saying sit the hive on an old car tyre because the ants don't like the rubber. I didn't know that.
The other day when I first came, I stuck up and tried with water under the...
Yeah.
But then I found it through the water, I went, oh, I'll do that again.
Yeah, I'm helping one of our members, Kerry Biggs, with a flow hive, and she's had a stand built, and we put little tins under the legs, so she'll just fill those up with water or oil, water, I think. Yeah.
Fill up with some oil.
Salt. Some oil. Oh, okay.
Yeah, just end up like rust.
Oh, okay.
Water in it, the rust. Some oil. It's what my dad's done for 80 years.
When you say leave some oil in the tin.
Instead of water.
Yeah, instead of water. Yeah.
You put the metal legs into the tin.
Yeah.
And fill it full of some oil. My dad's done it for 80 years.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, some oil in. Yeah, I'm saying. Yeah.
So just with that sitting a hive on tyres, is there a preferred height you should have at the bottom of a hive above the ground, especially so in the winter if you do have heavy frost that you're keeping it a little bit more elevated?
I don't know what the exact height is. I mean, I put my hives on pallets, so that's how high I've got them off the ground. Is there a preferred height? As long as they're not sitting right, yeah. I mean, you don't want. I mean, I'd still have that hive on a pallet, but yeah, I don't generally just sit it on the grass. But yeah.
But if you leave it over winter, they'll sink down the depth of that board anyway.
Yes. Yeah. So. Preferred height?
We don't have frost, so we can set them on the ground.
Yeah.
Bricks.
Bricks, yeah, at the very least you could put them on bricks, yeah. What do you do, Ron?
Mostly pallets.
Pallets, yeah.
Depends how many boxes you have too.
Well, that's
You don't want the top box to be too high.
No.
Yeah.
I've got a bad back.
Yeah.
And there are a few people, and I find it difficult to get onto the box when it's on the ground.
Yeah.
So I've got all my boxes on make benches. So the bottom of the bench is about just a normal bench height, about a foot and a half off the ground.
Yeah.
That's a little bit awkward if you're building your hive up 5 boxes high. So you're only really sacrificing one box. And if you make the bench strong enough, you can stand on the bench to get to your high box anyway. And then you can just lift it down and manipulate from there. But I found that works really well because then most of my hives are only 2 boxes high anyway.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually working it out like that. I'm looking in the top box and I find that much easier on the back.
Yeah. Well, whatever. I think probably a number of us could say that our backs get sore at times. So yeah, whatever you can do to help your back, that's great, David. Yeah. Okay, well it's 9, so how about we end it there, the formal part there, and we can always keep on talking over a cup of coffee and a piece of cake or something like that. So thanks.
You did most of the talking.
I appreciated these guys up here with me, just to give me a bit of support. So thanks Wombat, Dennis and David. Yeah, thank you.